What up, y'all? Happy Monday. It's your boy, Reggie Abreu. It's been a minute since I hopped on live, so I definitely want to get back to doing these consistently and just adding value. But I want to share from a video that I've been listening to probably for like the past, I'd say probably like 3 weeks consistently again. And it's called Getting Unstuck by my uncle, Les Brown. That's not my uncle for real, but I love to, say he's part of the fam, man. I really look up to him. Always get a lot from his videos. And y'all know that I'm, a big lover of personal development. So I'm always listening to different speakers, reading different books, audio books as well. And just always trying to find an edge on how I can improve myself as far as being a better businessman, being a better family man, being a better spiritual man. So any book or, video that can teach me, any podcast, I'm going to listen, I'm going to read it and do my best to apply, because that's how you actually grow. That's how you, move forward and make progress, right? And a lot of times I hear people say, they don't like to read, right? They don't have time to read, or they won't make time to read, or whatever it is. But audiobooks are a great resource. You could listen to them while you're working out. You could listen to them, while you're driving, on your way to work, or wherever you're going. So, don't make excuses on why you can't do it. Find a way to do it, right? But some of the things that he talked about in the video, the first one was when you're trying to get unstuck, when you're trying to move forward in a place in your life, there's different things that you want to do to get some momentum for yourself, right? To get yourself moving, right? And one thing he talks about is listening to upbeat music. Right. And I found that interesting because I always remember reading a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And he talks about the most powerful influences known to man, and money is on there, and sex is on there, and a bunch of other things. I think it was like 10 or 12 things that are like powerful things that influence people and our decisions and how we think and all those different things. But above all those things, the number one thing was music. And I thought that was so interesting. But when you think about it, you can listen to music and not even thinking about it, your body's moving, right? Because your body's pretty much matching that vibration of the music, right? And it's sometimes you're not even necessarily listening to the words consciously, but you're feeling that beat, right? So when you're in that stuck place, when you're in that down place, you want to listen to upbeat music. And I noticed the difference when I listen to certain kind of violent music, right? And music that's kind of pushing a certain kind of message versus when I listen to, like, let's say gospel music, right? I feel more encouraged. I feel stronger in my faith and my connection to God, right? The words are uplifting. So if I'm having like a down day or having a down month, a down year, whatever it is, the words make me feel better. Even if my situation hasn't changed, the words help me to feel encouraged, right? That's literally one of the songs that I listen to is about being encouraged, right? So you want to pay attention to the music that you listen to, because if you really pay attention to the words, and I'm into affirmations and just the power of our tongue, right? There's some songs that are literally singing about being sad. There's some songs that are literally singing about being angry, right? So if you're not trying to be those things, why listen to a song or repeat the lyrics of a song that are going to put you in those states? Those literally, they're emotional states that they could put you in, right? So you want to listen to more upbeat music. Number two, he talks about walking outside, right? Whether it's just to reflect, but just getting your body moving, right? A lot of times if we're down, if we're depressed, we may be sitting down a lot. We may be laying down a lot. We may be sleeping a lot. So you want to get that body moving, right? A lot of times I hear people say they have a vitamin D deficiency, right? And that comes from a lack of sunlight. If you just get 10, 20, 30 minutes a day of sunlight, that's going to help you with that. That's good for your body. It's good for the brain. It's good for your mood, right? And again, I notice the difference when I'm not moving my body, when I'm not going outside, when I'm not being active. Which is very rare. I always make sure to at least move my body. Like even on a rest day, I'll go for like a 20-minute walk just to move my body, just to get outside, to get some fresh air, spend time in nature, and you just feel better. even if, again, your situation may not change, but now you may have the perspective, right, to be able to do something and change your situation, right? A thought may come to you, an idea may come to you. You may think, okay, I need to call this person to pick their brain, right? But the resources and the ideas and things are going to come to you to be able to do something about your situation so you can move forward. But walking, moving your body, they say just 20 minutes a day makes a profound difference in your mood, right? So just moving your body a little bit is going to make a big difference in how you feel, right? Next, he talks about forgiveness, right? If you want to move forward in your life, if you want to get unstuck in your life, you got to forgive. And I know that's a topic for a lot of people that they hate to hear about. I myself, anybody that knows me personally, especially from years ago, know that I used to really hold on to grudges. Like if I didn't fuck with you, you knew it. Like if I didn't mess with you, like you knew it. And it was just how I was. It's just, whether it was how I was raised or just how I, thought we were supposed to be. But a long time you realize, it's not worth it to hold on to grudges, right? It takes a toll on you mentally. It takes a toll on you physically. It takes a toll on you spiritually, right? So for the longest, I knew that forgiveness had to be something that I needed to take on, but I didn't know how to do it. And I always would hear, messages of, you have to forgive, you have to forgive. And I remember finally listening to a sermon by Joyce Meyer, who has a crazy story herself. She was raped by her father as she was growing up. And she talked about how she was able to forgive him after, going through that from her childhood all the way through like her early, adult life, right? And how she was able to forgive. And one key tip that she gave in regards to forgiveness was praying for that person. And I'm thinking to myself, man, why would I pray for somebody that, I'm angry towards? But at that point in my life, I was so angry at somebody in my life that literally before I went to bed, how angry I was, that was the last thing that, I thought about as I went to sleep. And when I woke up, I was thinking about how angry I was at this person as soon as I woke. Like that was the first thought in my head. It wasn't how grateful I was. It wasn't I'm happy to see another day. It was just anger. Like that's how much anger I had in my life, how much anger I had on my mind, how much anger I had in my heart towards this person. So I needed to learn how to forgive. And after hearing that sermon by her, I said, you know what? I'm going to try it because, what do I have to lose? And, the first day, I prayed for the person. I wished them, money. I wished them health. I wished them, love in their relationships and just happiness in their life, that when their head hit the pillow at night, that they could be happy with themselves. And, I was wishing them things that I didn't even have for myself necessarily, right? But I was just practicing what Joyce Meyer talked about, right? Praying for somebody that you're angry at, praying for somebody that you feel like slighted you, right? And I said, I'm going to do it for 30 days, right? And that first day, I did it, and it was weird, and it was uncomfortable, but I did it. And then the second day, I did it again. And then, after a week, I noticed that I started feeling a little better where I could hear the person's name and not feel angry, because before, that's how it was. I could just hear their name or, see them on social media or see them in person and feel angry, right? And it wasn't that I was not angry anymore, but it was just a slight difference in how I was feeling. I was like, man, that's interesting. And after 2 weeks in of doing, literally praying for this person first thing in the morning, every single day, right? Wishing them health, wishing them love, wishing them money, wishing them happiness, wishing them, their heart's desires, like wishing them blessings, right? Sending good energy their way instead of bad energy, which is what I was sending them before. After that second week, I noticed I started feeling a little better towards them and just in general, right? And after a month, I could say that honestly, I could see them or be around them or, hear their name and not be angry. And I was able to literally have mental space again. I was able to fall asleep peacefully for the first time in a long time. I was able to wake up and just be grateful in the morning instead of being angry and resentful and all these different things. So it's definitely like it gave me a lot of my power back, and I was able to move forward in that area of my life, man. So I definitely believe in forgiveness. And it's crazy to even say that, because before, I didn't think it made sense to forgive people and let go of grudges and move on and stuff like that. And you don't forget, right? You don't forget the things that people have done to you. But you don't have to keep talking about them either, because that shows that you haven't truly forgiven the person. If every time somebody brings their name up, you're talking about what they did to you, you're still wanting to hold on to the situation, that shows you haven't truly forgiven. So for part of forgiveness also is like you get to stop talking about it, right? That's something that you decide to give up, right? Because that's how you truly move forward as well. So that's another thing that he talks about as far as getting unstuck. The next thing he talks about is having an empowering perspective, right? And, I think of that as, it's like that picture where you see two individuals standing around a number. And to one person, it looks like a 6, and the other person looks like a 9. And they're both actually right, but depending on their perspective is what the number is that they see. So a lot of times in our life, we're looking at a situation and it may not be serving us in the way that we're looking at the situation may not serve us, right? Because it keeps us stuck, right? It's getting us frustrated. We feel some type of way that's not pushing us forward, right? And I think about, things that have happened in my life from the smallest thing, if I'm in traffic, right? And one thing I heard about that is like, when you're in traffic, be grateful. Don't be frustrated that, you can't move forward. You can't drive faster to your destination, because that could be God slowing you down from danger that's ahead of you, right? And making sure that you get there when you need to get there, but you get there safely, right? So even a couple weeks ago, like my aunt got delayed at the airport, and I think it ended up taking her like almost another like 12 hours to get home. But I was saying to my wife, maybe she's stuck at the airport because she might end up meeting her, future husband there, right? So there's a different way that we could look at situations. It's like it doesn't always have to be a negative reason why this thing is happening. We just have to do the work to find a, way to twist it. Because like we hear in church, right? God, all things are working together for our good, right? So this thing could be happening for a bad reason, or it could be a positive reason that, is happening for me. I just have to do the work to see, how it could work in my favor, right? And that, gives you power in itself. That gives you energy in itself, because now you're not feeling down and angry and all these different things, because you feel like life is working against you, right? Which is never a good feeling. And that's never a place that you could work, with power. You know what I'm saying? You can't really move forward with that kind of energy. The next thing he talks about when it comes to getting unstuck is having mentors, right? People in your corner that can coach you, people that can speak life into you, people that can see greatness in you. And I've been blessed in having many mentors in my life that are available. Like literally, if I call them, they're going to pick up the phone. If I text them, they're going to answer my text. If, I ask them to meet up with me to grab, some lunch, right? They're open, they're available, right? So you want to have people in your life that are ahead of where you're at, right? If you're out of shape, you want to get a mentor who's in shape that can show you how to do it. If you're wanting to advance in your career or grow your business, you want to have mentors who are further ahead in their careers, right? They may be at the position that you want to get to, or if you're growing your business, you want to have someone who's, maybe at the level of business that you want to get to, or even further, right? That can tell you where to turn left, where to turn right, what to do, what not to do, right? And just, almost a week ago, I reached out to one of my college mentors, and I was like, he crossed my mind. I was thinking of a certain situation, probably for a couple weeks. And I was like, why am I trying to figure this out on my own? Let me hit up my mentor. And mind you, he's outside of the business that I do, but he does have his own business. So he understands the ins and out of running a business, right? He understands, what it looks like to go a different route, right? And I picked his brain, and he poured life into me for about 30 minutes. And I came out of that, conversation so empowered with new ideas. He reminded me of some things that, I had gotten away from. And it was just powerful to have somebody in my circle, somebody in my corner that could be that resource for me. And all of us have those resources of people that, again, are further ahead of us that could show us the way, right? So you want to tap into those people. You want to use that resource, right? Because people are your greatest resource. People are your greatest resource. I always love to remember that. So the mentors that you have in your life, even, if you're in a relationship or you're married, you want to have people that you can go to for, relationship or marriage mentorship. People that have been married longer than you have, that have faced, challenges and overcome them in their relationships. People that are, parenting mentors, right? You may have children, right? And to shorten the learning curve, you can pick people's brains that, have children that are maybe older than yours, and they've been there, done that, and they could tell you how they dealt with different challenges that come with parenting, right? So you never just want to, I want to say never, you never want to do it alone, but why do it alone? Why figure it out on your own if you have resources of people around you that can teach you the way, that can teach you maybe a better way than you ever thought of, right? Or that can just, maybe you have it all figured out, but sometimes, life is still challenging. Business is still challenging. Marriage is still challenging. And just to have somebody that can encourage you, that could tell you like, yo, you got this, or yo, you're doing a great job, or yo, I see the things that you're doing, right? And they're just, pouring that life in you that we all need. We all need encouragement. I remember Jim Rome saying, you'll never meet somebody that got too much encouragement. Most of the time, people aren't getting enough encouragement. People are getting too much negativity. People are getting too much criticism. People aren't getting enough of the thing that's going to puff them up some more and bring more confidence into them and put a smile on their face and get them, to have more energy, right? And be more vibrant. So you definitely want to have those mentors around you, right? And then lastly, he just talked about, tapping into support groups, people that face, the same common challenges that you have, right? And talk about it, right? So that way you don't feel like you're the only one, right? Because whether you're trying to get in shape, whether you're trying to make more money, whether you're trying to grow a family, whether you're trying to, improve, your spiritual walk, maybe you're trying to deal with an addiction, you're trying to deal with hardship, right? There's literally a support group for all of those things. There's literally a support group for all of those things, right? I remember being part of a program called the Landmark Forum, and they pretty much have seminars where people with all different types of goals were going there to learn how to take themselves to the next level. And people would go in front of a room of sometimes 50, 100 people and just share their struggles. And it was so empowering and powerful because you're sitting there listening and you're like, damn, I'm going through the same thing, or maybe I'm not going through the same thing, but I can, relate to this person either way because we all have our struggles in life. And then, when it was your turn to share on the mic, and it wasn't mandatory that you share, but, I found myself sharing a lot because I wanted a breakthrough. I wanted to be able to move forward and see some progress. So I would go up and share a lot, what I'm saying? Anything that was on my mind or questions that I had, so I could get the coaching that was available, from that support group. And, my shares would help people that were in the seats, and people that were sharing helped me while I was in my seat. So you definitely want to tap into the support groups that are around you. So again, the things that you're struggling with, you don't have to do it alone, because again, you can do it alone. But why, if there are resources that are out there that can help you to move forward? So those are the pretty much 6 things that my Uncle Les Brown talked about in the video. Is called Getting Unstuck. I listen to it probably at least like once a week at this point, just as a refresher. And then he's just good with storytelling and jokes and stuff like that. And he's somebody, even though I've never met him in person, he's almost like a mentor, in itself, because I could just press play on his videos at any point in time and feed off of that energy that he puts out, that positive energy, right? The great wisdom that he puts out in his videos, and just the empowerment that he gives, man. So definitely hope that this video added value. Just wanted to put some good, energy and knowledge out there. My plan is to get back to doing these live videos consistently, probably once a week or so, just as I'm reading, listening to different podcasts and different books, and just adding value to myself, just putting it out there, because we all grow from each other, right? We all need encouragement, like I said earlier. So let's have a powerful day. Let's have a powerful week, and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.